The 40 Lessons Podcast is a Shining Starlight Entertainment production.
Time for another week of life, love, and everything in between on the 40 Lesson Podcast. What's going on, everybody? It's another week of life, love, and everything in between with the 40 Lesson Podcast. I'm your boy, 40 Lessons.
I'm your girl, Tori, Strick.
We got Tori to come to work 2 weeks in a row. Imagine that.
I goes to work.
Keeping track of attendance.
I goes to work. You keeping track of attendance?
I'm just keeping track of the people.
I'm getting demerits.
No. Your benefits package is non-exempt.
I think when I was absent, it was a good time. You had a good time, didn't you?
I had a wonderful time.
Exactly. See how I be blessing people and they don't even appreciate it?
I know it. I tell you about it. Leak behind the camera. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much.
Sitting on the floor, smacking gum, drinking water. That's pretty much the routine. Boy, if y'all saw the behind the scenes action, y'all would wonder how any of this stuff ever got done.
I'm trying to tell you.
But it happens some way. So, we talked about communication styles. And
we did.
Creating safe places last week.
We did. A very good conversation. And
this week we thought about unintentional ways we hurt our partners. Mm-hmm. I'll let you start, Tori.
Of course. Of course.
Talk about some of the unintentional ways that we don't even realize that we hurting our partners. Because sometimes these are sometimes very small things that can add up into very critical things.
Absolutely.
If it happens enough.
Absolutely.
And people, they almost feel like they shouldn't speak on it. But if it nicks at you enough, it could cause an explosion. Give the people a couple of examples of some of those things.
Enough nicks to make you bleed out.
Absolutely. You nick an artery, it's over.
Yep, it's a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about one of the ways that I see most often in the age of cell phones and social media and this constant connectivity that we have to the real world. You're engaging with someone, right? I mean, you're talking to someone, you're whatever it is, trying to build a connection or revisiting a connection or just talking with an old friend and picking up the phone, right? So you're talking to the person, they're picking up the phone. They're picking up the phone. You're talking to a person, they're doing whatever they're doing, texting, scrolling, posting, whatever the case might be, emailing, and you're talking to them. And they're like, oh, no, I hear you. Mm-hmm. But you're
not paying attention to me.
You're not paying attention. And it's not meant to be harmful. Right? Especially if we're working.
Right. People pride themselves on being multitaskers.
Which I think is bullshit. Let me just say that.
Because they're terrible at it.
I don't think there's a such thing. I don't think multitasking I think it's been praised to be a good thing. I think it's complete and utter bullshit.
Because you really need to give things
full-time and
full-time focus one at a time as you're working your way through it. It's funny. I know that go on in couples a lot, especially when you got busy couples. I do admit, I can admit that, Bae's a very busy woman sometimes, but she's very polite when she need to get on the phone or something. She'll be, oh, baby, I'm sorry. I need a moment. But we stop talking so that she can divert her attention to that moment. And then she'll come back, whether she need to send an email or something to that effect. And I think that's how you should try to do it, because sometimes we almost have this expectation. Well, I'm working. No, I don't know what you're doing. You could have been tagging a picture on Instagram. I know. And I'm sitting here trying to talk to you about
something that's
serious to me, and you up here just scrolling through your Instagram. So it looked like, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, you was. I saw you. So yeah, it could be that type of thing. What other unintentional things are we doing out there? We do that to each other as friends sometimes. I'm always amazed, man. Go to a brunch this weekend. If you ain't got nothing to do on Saturday and Sunday, go to a brunch with your friends. There'll be moments in that brunch time where everybody at that table who have got up, brushed their teeth, put on clothes, probably put gas in their car to drive to meet you, to have food with you, and it'll be a good 30, 40 minutes throughout that 2-hour brunch sitting in which everybody is looking at their phones and not talking to each other.
You know what? I am so that happened a couple of times with my tribe and we have gotten to a point here lately. I think all of us and we're all post 40. I just, like to make sure that's very clear. And we're all at a point now where it is far more important and impactful for us to be present for one another than it is for us to be posting or doing whatever. Even if we decide, because we even now wait to the very end of our time together to take pictures. If we even take pictures at all, we have gotten to a point now where it is not so important. But I think too, we grew up without social media. We grew up without the need to post. So we're at a point now where we're all kind of like, okay.
One of the things I try to do, and one of the things I try to always set the example of, is I've got to the place where when I'm out with Bae, I'm not interested in my phone. Now, I do something most guys don't do. They might find this to be a phenomenon. But my phone sits face up on the table. Most guys' phones is face down on the table. For whatever reason, that phone is face down. I'm not sure why your phone is down, but I'm to a place in life where my phone can sit upright on the table.
I sure hope we all are.
Okay. But I hear you.
It's called the cheating boyfriend.
Is that what it's called? Oh, well, I make sure my phone is faced up. And the reason it's faced up is because when we're having a conversation or we're engaged, the only reason I would answer my phone is if it's my children.
Kids, right.
Right. And she high tech. She got an Apple Watch. So she can look at her hand and all that.
It comes up. Well, the reason why I'm asking.
But those are the courtesies that, I've set in place is to make sure that, life is busy. And when you set aside this time to be with each other, you kind of need to be with each other. I think that's what you kind of need to do.
I think this idea that, that's a whole other subject.
What, life is busy?
Yeah, I think that's
you don't think life is busy?
I just think that sometimes.
You think we all just running around on a hamster wheel?
I sometimes think that folks just be.
They ain't got time for you?
Talking.
Oh, wow.
I think folks.
I guess that could be an unintentional way to hurt your partner.
But that's a whole other topic for another time, and that could be my introversion speaking.
Okay.
So interruptions, right? So I it's a pet peeve of mine personally, but I think when we are talking to our friends, our partners, and they are trying to share valuable information with us, and they are not afforded the space to be able to do so because we're inputting or inserting whatever it is that we need to insert before they're able to.
Going on.
That is an unintentional way that we harm our partners.
I think it's really a disrespect to that person's time. Somebody has set aside time to be with you for whatever reason they're with you, whether it's your friends, whether it's your person you're in a relationship with, even if it's a meeting with other colleagues. I think those moments that we set aside should really be set aside to focus on what we're there for. It takes something said that you hear is serious, through your side here, because you're not really focused. Then you be like, whoa, hold up. What you say? Now you want to put your phone down and get engaged at that point, but this person had a whole lead up to all that you missed. Now I got to start over and tell you.
Dead.
Right.
You're like, what?
Now I got to start over and tell you the whole story again. Called Malcolm with Cheryl. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me put the phone down. Is that why we had lunch today to talk about that? Oh, my Lord, girl. I'm sorry. I'm not being here for you in this moment. And that's really what it's about, is being able to be there fully in the moment. Something else we do, and I'll take it to relationships and marriages. We got to be real careful with how we treat our quote-unquote partner. Sometimes we might have a skill set in certain areas and we take the lead on things because we just want to get it done. And we move on things in ways that doesn't include our other person. And we just show up to them with whatever decision we made, whatever that finished product is. And yeah, the world didn't end. I grant you that. The world didn't end. Whatever happened needed to happen. And it may have been mentioned at some point in time that this needed to happen. And sure, it got done. But if we're in a partnership, the last thing I want to do is see you operate in a silo. That just does not work for anybody. And even though a person may not have a lot to say about that in that moment, you do that enough over time, that's when you will get an explosion on a Saturday morning at 9 because you decided to go to the grocery store and you didn't take a moment to find out if it was anything she needed to put on the list. You just decided that you was going and this is what you was buying, and now you come back thinking you about to cook bacon and eggs, and she taking the eggs and throwing them at you because she just mad and you like you just act like I'm not here, you know?
Or you get withdrawal.
Or you get withdrawal and then you don't even understand what you're getting the withdrawal about.
So I weaponize silence through withdrawal. That's what I do. If I have said something, if I have indicated that I need something, and you have decided for whatever the reasons might be to continually ignore that desire, I will absolutely weaponize silence. And so I don't do the whole all right then. I don't do that. I just will go completely blank slate. And
nothing scares a man more than a silent woman and you can't remember why you silent. 40 Lessons, a coach for life. For life coaching services, contact Dumisani Solwazi at thereal40lessons@gmail.com. That's thereal40lessons@gmail.com.
What's the type of silence, though,
the most faithful men in the world will start questioning their integrity in these silent moments. He'll be like, what did I do? Did I do something? Who called? Did she see something on an email or a text? He'll be losing. The boy about to have a stroke because he trying to figure out why she's silent.
Oh, my goodness.
He don't even know what's going on in his life at the moment. All he know is she ain't speaking, and when she ain't speaking, death is near.
There are types of silence, because I tend to be the quiet partner. Okay. I don't talk a lot when I don't, because I can't. It's too much.
Every time she says that,
I can't.
I'm in this belief
of
this assertion
that
Tori Strick is an introvert and doesn't talk. The woman who has an opinion about everything and all the words to go with the opinion is the quiet person in the relationship.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yep.
Science should study this.
You're welcome. So, I tend to be the quiet one in the relationship, but
and she said it twice.
But there are types of silence, right?
Okay.
There's the silence, like, because of the work that I do, it requires me to be engaged with people all day. Like, I have like 9 direct reports, so I'm always, when I get home, for me, that reset is important. Okay. But I'm not mad at nobody. I just need to refocus, reset, and re-energize myself.
Okay.
I'm quiet. Weaponizing silence, though, for me,
a little different.
I change my energy.
You let them know you quiet and mad.
It's very clear that it's cold, right? It's cold. So, and I will say this too. I think that we can unintentionally harm our partners through silence and, for women, tears. Weaponizing tears. You get into a situation with your partner.
Can't cry about everything now.
But sometimes the crying is a direct. So our tear ducts are larger. Science says blah, 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 blah.
More emotional than others.
Well, yeah. But even still, there is emotion. And so there's the tears developing because of frustration, and then the accounting for that. Like, let me take a step away for a moment. I just need to kind of gather myself. I'm really interested in investing in being here. You can do that when you cry. Or you can cry and immediately when tears come, men do what?
Most men soften up and want to come and console and, oh no, don't do that to me, baby. I ain't mean for that to happen. I'm sure this is rare. But I'm sure it's used to get their way sometimes in some small cases. Maybe not so small cases, but I'm sure it's used for women to get their way at time, and that's not a way it should be used. And let me say this about that and about other things that you can do you start to chop at the safety and trust block with these type of actions. You know, last week we talked about, you know, being able to communicate in safe places and how those safe places expand trust and things of that nature. Well, what we're talking about this week can destroy everything you built.
Absolutely.
When you start putting people in positions to where I'm not always sure if your discomfort is real or not, or if you're using it just to move me to a certain place.
The boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. If we in that situation, you know, if that's what we doing, then, you know, now I'm not fully engaged, or I'm very hesitant in how I move around you. And I can't lay with nobody I can't trust.
And trust, this notion that I had someone tell me, a gentleman that was interested in being my partner, he told me that
he said it like he was applying to IBM, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, a gentleman that was interested in being my partner. His application was not accepted, but he was interested.
Anyway, he indicated,
Lord have mercy. Tori Strick, ladies and gentlemen.
There was a crucial moment, right? Because there are crucial conversations, and I hope we all know this. There are crucial moments, there are crucial conversations that happen amongst us all the time. And
absolutely.
So this was a crucial moment where I indicated to him, and this is rare. It's not rare anymore. I was learning this skill.
Okay.
I was vulnerable enough to say to him, I am hurting. I am shutting down. If you persist in talking to me, I am going to shut down and I won't say anything to you ever again. You need to let me process what I'm hearing or what I've heard. He proceeded.
So you wanted to end the conversation at that point?
I needed to end the conversation because what I was hearing at that point was blame, and I didn't feel like I was in a position where I should have been blamed. So
was it actual blame you was hearing?
No.
Or was your emotions playing tricks on you?
I don't think emotions play trick on.
Well, no. Don't misunderstand that. What I mean by saying was your emotion playing tricks on you, was the emotional, was the moment so emotional?
Yes.
That you could not hear the clear and concise message that was being given in the conversation.
The moment, not only was the moment emotional, it was supercharged, and we were discussing something that for me is very, very, very important, because we were talking about sexual health. And there was something that was not disclosed. So, and it wasn't disclosed because according to this person, a number of different whatevers. All I was hearing was, I didn't do it because I just didn't do it. I didn't do it because I just didn't do it. So what I said was...
Well, how did you feel you was blamed in that situation?
Because what I heard was, you tripping.
Oh, that this ain't really your business.
No, that you should just kind of get over it.
Oh, this ain't a big deal. You making too much out of this.
Invalidating the severity, in my opinion, of what was happening.
I said what I said. And I'm done with it. You should be done with it too.
You should just stop taking it so seriously.
Because at that point, I'm not validating your feelings.
I don't need you to validate my feelings. Because that's the thing about me.
Well, I'm not hearing you. You're not being heard.
I am really not interested in your position. So when I say to you, listen, I am shutting down. Mm-hmm. If I say that to you, of all people, if I tell you I'm shutting down, it is in your best interest to step away from it. Because what ended up happening was he proceeded to talk. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're going to continue to talk despite what I've asked you to do. So yet again, you're taking what you want and putting it before what I've asked for.
Okay.
Cool. That was your decision. I'm done. Then I get a message that's like 1,800 paragraphs long, still with the same thing. Thank you for your input.
But that happened because we didn't agree on a place to end the conversation and when we're going to bring the conversation back.
Doesn't matter.
I slightly disagree. I'm okay with you shutting down. I'm not okay with knowing when we're going to pick this back up. I want to know you shutting down for how long.
Then ask that.
Agree. This is an exchange that should be happening. We need to stop just talking now. You need an hour. You need 45 minutes. I come back tomorrow. What we doing? We gonna finish this up on the phone? You know when? That's how I am. I don't want to just leave it in the wind where you just shut down and now 3-4 days has passed and I ain't heard nothing from you. I don't know where we at. You don't know where we at. I don't know if you pissed off. I don't know if you can calm down a little bit. I don't know anything that's going on. So all I'm saying is I'm okay with people wanting to shut down. I'm okay with people not even, if they're not shutting down, they just want to pause the conversation for a minute. All I'm telling people to do is I think you need to put a destination in time for when that conversation, at what point are we going to bring this conversation back? And what's the environment in which we want to do that in? Because some people may, your conversation may be so complicated that you need a moderator. That maybe the two of you talking to each other don't work. And maybe you need to decide, you know what? Some people, like couples may be in therapy or going to coaching sessions. And hey, let's hold this conversation. Our therapy session coming up. Let's bring this up in therapy. Therefore, it can be a fair balance of, the moderator is able to moderate both sides of the conversation. Therefore, I'm not running the conversation. You're not running the conversation. And we both get an opportunity to be heard how we want to be heard. Because I do think it's important for people to be heard. And I know people hate the word I know people hate the term validating feelings. But I think your feelings gotta matter to me for me to even hear you.
But feelings mattering and feelings being validated, I don't believe are the same thing.
Okay, well, break that down.
I think validation suggests permission almost. And that might just be a matter of
your permission to feel.
Like it suggests that they're so you validating my feelings is almost saying, okay, yes, it's okay, versus us saying I can understand how you feel that way. I guess it's
for you it's not terminology.
For me, I don't think it's empathic to say or an empathetic response to say. Yes. You can absolutely feel that way versus I understand how you feel. I think those are two different things. So when I hear validation of feelings, I hear yes.
And now that you said that, I never do the first thing. I don't say yes, you can feel that way. Right. I always get to the I understand how you feel, and I also ask follow-up questions to make sure. Well, before I say I understand how you feel, I ask a couple of questions to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Absolutely.
And then once I can verify that I've heard what I thought I've heard, then I'll give you, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I can see how you felt that way. Got it. Now let me tell you what I was actually doing or what I was actually saying, because that wasn't my intention.
If I'm not ready to have that conversation, I am entitled to the space to be able to not have that conversation.
I absolutely agree.
And I don't owe you that right then.
I think that's a confrontation point. I think that still allows for the tension to brew. And I think we have a problem if we leave it like that.
I think that's a man's desire to problem solve.
No.
And to fix things.
There are women who are like that will not let that conversation go until we finish it.
And finished in my mind is I am shutting down and I don't want to talk about this anymore right now.
Tori Strickland presents Weightless, now available on Amazon. And when you put the right now on it, you're going to make me ask you when.
And I'm going to say, I am not ready to have this conversation.
I think we lose the conversation. In my opinion, I don't think that's an appropriate place to park it. I think through your feelings, through your anger, through your hurt, through whatever the emotion is in that moment, we have to take that extra step when we're in a space. We have to take that extra step to say when we're going to revisit something.
Do you think that her shutting down is unintentionally hurting you?
Absolutely. The man would absolutely take it that way, because at this point, I'm engaged in this conversation full throttle. And I want to bring a close to this.
You want to fix it.
Even though I might have broke it.
You want to fix it.
I still want to. Well, I think anybody who don't want... I think anyone who don't want this thing to linger will operate that way.
Lingers? What is this notion? I think that there is this idea.
Crystal is that person in our relationship. She cannot let anything linger. It's like we got to finish. I'm telling you.
There is this idea.
Of what?
That because something is started, it has to immediately be ended.
Not immediately. I think it needs to have an ending place.
And it will. But it does not have to be prescribed in the moment, because that's when you think it should be prescribed.
And I'm not saying prescribed in the moment. I'm saying give me the moment when we're going to come back to this.
That's the prescription.
I think that's fair.
I don't.
I think that's a hard place. Me as a communicator and someone who engages very high level communication with my partner, and me knowing how my partner operate, it would be outside of what we do for us not to bring a conclusion to a conversation.
For y'all.
But this is what, and this is of mine. This is 40 Lessons Opinion. If I'm coaching a couple, I'm gonna coach them to get to a period with this conversation.
And what if the wife is saying she is saying that I am feeling so emotional in that moment. I am not interested in that moment at identifying the time when we can revisit it. I am more interested in going inward to console myself and to take care of my feelings. If that is where she is, that is okay. I don't have to.
I don't have a problem with her consoling herself.
But you want her, before she even gets a chance to do that, you want her to come back and say, I'm going to commit to, we're going to talk about this in another day or two. Well, what if I'm not done with my feelings?
We can talk about it in a week.
But what?
We can talk about it in a month.
You're missing the larger point. The larger point is, I need the opportunity to check in with myself before I can say to you, oh, let's check in about this here. And then you're expecting some sort of conclusion or closure to it. You have to afford me the opportunity, especially if I'm telling you I'm feeling vulnerable, especially if I'm saying to you I'm shutting down. You have to afford me the space, because this is a part of safety too. Let me consult and check in with myself. Because what if I
don't think I'm taking your space.
But what if
by
I do
giving
that?
you the opportunity to tell me when? If your response to me was,
I disagree.
I need a week, and I give you a week, and I check in with you in a week and say, hey, we was talking about such and such a week ago. Is this a good time for us to finish that conversation? I don't see nothing inappropriate about that.
About you coming and naturally checking in? No, of course not. Of course you can naturally check in.
I just don't think you as an individual get to handcuff the relationship by you not wanting to finish this conversation, because that's how it's emotionally inconvenient for you at the moment.
No, it's emotionally inconvenient for you at the moment, because what will ultimately end up happening is, if I'm telling you that I'm feeling vulnerable and I'm shutting down, what that means is it's gonna be no holds barred very soon. And what no holds barred kind of conversations do to relationships is it starts to decimate them, because then I become acerbic. I become, in some instances, I get very, very sarcastic. I get very, very mean. What you have to let me do is check in with myself. You got to let me do that. If you don't, then we run the risk, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but you do run the risk of me feeling backed into a corner, and then I start clawing my way out. Then
so what, is he just gonna walk off and wait for one day for you to pop up and say, I'm ready to talk now?
Or he can say, I hear you. Let's take a step away from it. Let's take a break from it, and I will circle back with you and check in and see how things are going. At that point, I can say, okay, I've checked in with myself, and I can say, okay, let's talk about it, or can you give me another day or two? But in that moment, if I am asking for
no,
that's not the same thing. What you're saying is, I'm telling you I'm shut down. Well, I get you don't want to talk about this right now, but I want to talk about this. So can we talk about this in a day? Give me a time frame within which we can talk about it. No, I'm not going to give you a time frame. But if you naturally just come back and decide to check in, that's fine.
Well, naturally a person is going to do that because this is not done.
Okay.
And I don't think anything within a relationship format. See, this is where I'm at when it comes to this relationship thing and this thing moving towards marriage. Oh Lord. This is where it comes with this relationship thing and move to a marriage. We gotta get to a close. See, I hate when we get into these good things, you know what I'm saying? These good places, and we get struggling, and we got time restraints.
You just took 2 minutes, right?
I know. It's cool. But when you're in this relationship, you don't have the convenience of your individual preferences all the time. Your what the relationship has set as the rules of engagement is what should prevail. What the relationship needs is what should take precedence in my mind. And that may not always feel well to the other person. That may not always be convenient for the other person. But I need some type of structure. And if we've agreed on our communication style, and we have these safe places, and we set these boundaries that we said we wouldn't cross with each other, and we're worried about this trust being intact, and we'll go ahead and call this the 40 lesson moment for time restraint purposes. But it is of my opinion that I need those two people to not leave that conversation with open-ended ends on it. I need to know when we're gonna put some type of resolve to this, or when we're going to decide that we need extra help on this particular topic and we need to go a little further with getting it resolved. And that may mean bringing in coaching, therapy, if you got accountability partners. People have a right to honor their
feelings. They have a right to honor their feelings.
I don't think I'm dishonoring your feelings by asking you to give me an appropriate. If you tell me check back with me in a week, you haven't gave me a date and time, but you at least have given me a time frame.
But I don't owe you that in that moment.
Oh, if we together, you owe me that.
No, I don't.
I don't see how we can be together like that.
What I owed to you was to be transparent with you and to express to you where I was emotionally, which is what I did. That's what I owed to you, to express my vulnerability to you. I owed that to you, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And what you owe to me, and I don't even like the word owe so much, but what you owe to me is let Tori check in with herself. Because here's the thing about trust. Funny thing, if we say that we trust each other, then you got to trust that I'm not going to leave this open-ended. You got to trust that I realize that this is as much an issue as you do. And you got to trust that I'm going to circle back and check in with you. You have to trust that. Otherwise, what you're saying is it's a convenient trust. It's trust when the flowery, pretty words are said, but it's not an intrinsic trust. Because if you intrinsically trust me, you've got to know that if I'm telling you I need time right now, you got to know that I am going to circle back with you because you're important to me and this is meaningful to me. Otherwise,
I would hope so, but I'm also of the mindset that I want us to say the words. That's just kind of where I'm at with. I want the words to be said. I want it to be clear and concise. I don't want it to be any room for assumption or interpretation. I don't think there's nothing wrong with, as partners, that we've agreed that we will say that type of thing when that type of thing arises. But we'll leave it up. Yeah. Listen, this is where we're gonna need y'all engagement. Me and Tori differ a little bit on this.
We differ a lot on
it won't be a first time we disagreed on something. Listen, if you got an opinion on this, please drop it in the comment section. Or if you see us, post about this topic on IG, comment on the thread on IG. As always, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on SoundCloud. Subscribe, and share. Tell a friend, tell your pastor, tell your grandmama. Get everybody watching the 40 Lesson podcast. We'll be back next week. Don't know what we're talking about next week yet, but we'll figure that out too. So we got a little time to put that together. But I'll leave you the same way I always bring you in. You can find me at 40 Lessons.
Tori Strick.
And you can find at Shining Starlet Entertainment on IG. She's the executive producer of the 40 Lesson podcast. If you need her services, please reach out unless you work at a cigar lounge. She's not coming to no cigar lounge. Outside of that, she'll be happy to help you with your film needs and video editing and things of that nature. As I always tell you, you say it's yours.
Let's go get it.
We'll see you next week. Peace.